Hello friends, welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in other parts of the world. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to a brand new video. We're going to be diving into every story that Arsenal have actually been faced with in the last 3 weeks without uploading. Sorry for that. But of course, I want to also give you a guide to what we're going to be seeing in January when it comes to Arsenal and transfers. A couple of questions in my inbox already. Because who are we signing in January? What are we looking at in January? And probably the biggest question is, are we signing anyone in January? Now, the answer to that is yes. We are looking at a couple of very, very good options in January as per Fabrizio Romano and other very strong sources. But the question is, can we get these deals done? Are these players really available? And if they are, at what cost do we strengthen our squad in January? Mikel Arteta is all over the media, and of course his comments as we were closing down to the World Cup are still over the media, that the squad is short, we still need more players, and we need to strengthen as much as we can. So with all that being said, I'm going to be providing you with a guide to what we're going to be seeing in January, the priorities that Arsenal are going to be trying to chase, the backups of those priorities, and some honorable mentions, names that you'll be hearing Arsenal and me, of course, speaking about throughout December and January, Arsenal trying to sign them, but also I think as backups to these priority players that we'll be trying to sign. Hit the like button for me, subscribe to the podcast as well. We are back and we are still very, very strong. If you love Arsenal, please do hit that like button for me. Of course, do subscribe as well. And in the comment section, talk to me. Do you feel Arsenal will get these deals done? Because according to Damesheth on Sky, Arsenal this January do have a huge opportunity to strengthen and probably win the Premier League, because at the moment, Manchester City has so many players in the World Cup. I was chatting to one of my friends and I said one of the advantages Arsenal have over City is the number of players City have in the World Cup and the number of minutes these players are actually going to be playing. If you look at Arsenal, maybe the likes of Saka will play the whole tournament, but players like Aaron Ramsdale might not actually play anywhere, for England in the tournament. So, can we strengthen in January? Can we mean business? Are we gonna be backed? And if we're gonna be backed, to what extent? Now, I want to start off from the forward line and that winger situation. Fabrizio Romano providing us with a very, very huge update that Arsenal will be trying to sign MUDRYK as the priority player in January. Actually, he doesn't say that we'll try to sign him as a priority forward or he's a priority for us as a winger. He is a priority as a player for Arsenal in January. Of course, we tried to sign him in the summer. Fabrizio says there is a lot of competition on this one. We tried to sign him in the summer. Everton and a couple of other clubs in Germany try to sign him, including clubs like Brentford as well in the Premier League. The deals actually didn't happen. The player was not very happy. He was actually disappointed that Shakhtar Donetsk blocked all those deals. But he says eventually, right now, I can see what is going to happen. I might get that big money move in January, and I'm quite very, very happy. So Fabrizio Romano has been speaking about this one and says Arsenal looking at him as a priority target. They will try to sign him. He's the player they're looking at. Unless they don't get him, we'll look at the backup options Arsenal are looking at in the likes of Facundo Torres and Thuram. But at the moment, MUDRYK is the player. Now, facing all that, there's still many stories coming out that Arsenal have also tabled a very significant offer on the table for Shakhtar Donetsk. Now, this one has the figure has actually not been revealed. The amount has actually not been revealed, so it could be 50, it could be 60. What we know from Fabrizio is that they want more than 50 million euros. And one of the directors there at the club came out and said, look, if you're going to take MUDRYK, if you're going to sign him, you're going to give us more than 100 million euros. Of course, you look at the interest, you look at the number of clubs interested, you look at the profile of those clubs as well, and how desperate a club like Arsenal will be to get a talent like MUDRYK. I don't think there's so many on the market right now available in January, moreover. So they're saying 100 million euros. That is what they want. MUDRYK did react to these stories as well. And they said a club coming out and saying that they want 100 million euros in me. They're trying to block my deal, and I'm not really happy with them. But I think with MUDRYK, it's going to be, January or the summer. I've said that before. Yes, Arsenal want him in January. They will go as far as, tabling 1 or 2 bids for Mikhailo Mudryk. But if it fails in January, then probably it will happen in the summer. The player is 100% interested in moving in January. Actually, in his own words, well, I think he was on an interview with Alexander Zichenko's wife, and he says, I still hope that in January I will be getting that big move that I was always dreaming about. So the player wants to move. There's no question about that. He's according to Romano, he's very, very happy with the prospect of playing for Arsenal Football Club. He wants to join Arsenal. So we're still waiting for Shakhtar. Can they reduce that? Asking price? Now, I want to clear up as well some information about this deal. I don't think Mikhailo Mudryk is actually going to be forcing a transfer move in January. I don't think he's unhappy. I don't think he's actually unsettled. I think the only ungrateful part of the story comes in when Shakhtar are trying to raise the bar too high in terms of the price. But I don't think he's unhappy at Shakhtar, and I also don't think he's going to be very, very mad if he doesn't get the deal, because he knows he will still get that deal in the summer. So Manchester City, Real Madrid, Barcelona, all those clubs still interested. Arsenal very much front runners on the deal. I can confirm the likes of Everton and Brentford do not have a bigger say in this deal, unless we see some kind of miraculous twist of fate where he goes to Bayer Leverkusen, Borussia Dortmund, or Borussia Mönchengladbach. But I don't see him going to that profile of club. If he signs in January, he's definitely going to sign for a club in the profile of Arsenal, fighting to win the championship, Manchester City fighting to defend the championship, or Real Madrid, one of the biggest clubs now in the world. So we'll talk about this deal in detail. Lots of information to dive into, but he is a priority. And in terms of our January guide, he's going to be a very, very big name, a very consistent name that you will be hearing from me and all the Arsenal content creators here on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and elsewhere. Now, in terms of backup, Arsenal, of course, know very well that it might not actually come the way you want it. Yeah, at times you want a player and you feel they're the right player for the project, but circumstances do determine whether you get that player or not. Take an example of Dusan Vlahovic in January. We wanted him. We were willing to pay over 70 million euros, reportedly, but the player decided he wants to stay in London. He wanted to stay in Turin. He wanted to stay in Italy and crossed over to Juventus. So in terms of backup, Arsenal looking at Facundo Torres as a backup player. He's playing very, very good football there in the Major League Soccer. Did I say Major League Soccer? Exactly. At Orlando City, that is in America. Arsenal do want him. The young Uruguayan is actually on fire. Only in this season, he's already made 14 goal contributions in around 20 games. In around 20 games that he has played for Orlando City. That is quite brave for me, and that's quite very, very strong in terms of statistics. He's only 22 years old. He's been called up with Uruguay for the World Cup, and that shows you how much of a talent, how much of a player he's gonna be when it comes to the future. The likes of Jude Bellingham, the likes of Gavi, the likes of Pedri. He's going to be one of the youngsters we're going to be seeing in the World Cup. Now, would I want Arsenal to sign Facundo Torres? In my opinion, this is it. If we don't get Mikhailo Mudryk, genuinely, not because Arsenal failed to bid or try, if we genuinely fail to get Mikhailo Mudryk, probably the deal doesn't happen. Probably the price is too high. And though that, then I would be very welcome to sign Facundo Torres. But I have a problem with this deal. When I look at Marquinhos and I look at Facundo Torres, they're not at the same level, definitely. Facundo Torres is 22, and that just adds some kind of experience to him. But he's been playing in the Major League Soccer. It would take him time. It would take him some time to come into the Premier League, adapt, and understand the way European football actually works and all that. So if we don't get Mikhailo Mudryk, yes, Facundo Torres is a good shout, but then I would say, why don't we get a player who's proven at Europe? And that could be Moussa Diaby, that could be Yeremy Pino, that could be Nico Williams from Spain, that could be anyone. as long as they have that kind of test, they have that experience of European football. So those are the two wingers we're going to be trying to sign in January. There are a few stories about Facundo Torres, deal advanced talks with agents and all that. I'll be covering that in the subsequent episodes on this channel. But what you have to know is that we're trying to sign a winger. Facundo Torres is the second name after Mikhailo Mudryk. Hit that like button for me. Now, in terms of the midfield, Arsenal really desperate. They want a duo. According to 90 Min, want to sign 2 players in midfield. It might not actually happen because not always that you want a duo, you do get a duo. Remember, in the summer, how many midfielders did we want and how many actually did we end up with? But according to 90 Min, we want to sign Yuri Tillemans and Danilo, a double in January. Now, that is risky, but very, very smart from Arsenal. So according to 90 Min, Arsenal will not be sitting down and let other clubs have a go at Yuri Tillemans. We'll try to sign him and we'll try to get him at the Emirates Stadium amid stiff competition from Barcelona, Manchester United, Liverpool, Bayern, and all those clubs. I don't know if even Bayern are interested, but you get the point. Huge clubs are coming in for Yuri Tillemans. And of course, he's in the World Cup. He's going to do well. I trust my gut. He's going to do very well. And that's going to slightly increase the price and also slightly increase the competition. Leicester City are still very, very adamant and still hopeful that he will extend his stay with the Foxes. Now, I believe we've had enough discussions about this one. He will not extend. If I'm a Foxes fan, I'll be looking at Tune Kupmienes. I'll be looking at a couple of other players. I've just watched Tune Kupmienes, one of the best midfielders for me in the Italian Serie A. Just watched him for the World Cup against for the Netherlands, and it was absolutely smashing it for them. So this is my opinion. Yuri Tillemans in January. I'm 100% in for that because we might not have that time to sign him in the summer. He wants Champions League. He wants a winning club. He wants a winning mentality, and he also wants a very, very big project. I think we do not have much of those requirements at the moment. By the end of the season, we will have UEFA Champions League. I'm quite sure about that. We do have the winning mentality right about now, and probably we will have some silverware to show. Probably the UEFA Europa League or the FA Cup or the Carling Cup. Oh, we cannot win the Carling Cup. We are actually out. But you get what I mean. We will try to win something, and I believe this season, Mikel Arteta and Arsenal will win some silverware. So according to Fabrizio Romano, we do want the player. We're looking at him and we're trying to study the situation. I think this is one of the deals where if it's not busy in January, we don't sign him. But if it's busy, we do sign him. I think Mikel Arteta understands the real gold, the real treasure in signing Yuri Tillemans, but still he feels like, can I get him on a free? That is the question that Mikel Arteta is actually running away with. Can I get him on a free? If he can get him on a free, definitely he will not be listening to any advice of signing him for 25 million euros in January. But for me, 25 million euros for a player who's only 25, there is a lot of return on investments to be had. I don't think Arsenal are really going to be making a very big mistake. So get him and get that deal done. Now, the option to Yuri Tillemans, or the second name actually in terms of midfield, because I said we want two, it's actually Danilo. Now, I've talked about Danilo right from last summer, and I think the summer before that. He's one of those very interesting young Brazilian talents to watch. Will he be part of the World Cup squad? I don't think he will be, and I also think for Brazil right now, it is going to be very, very hard for a player to get their names onto that squad list. But don't get me wrong and quote me right. In the next 2-3 years, in the next World Cup, Danilo is going to be one of the most impressive defensive midfielders for Brazil. Quote my words. I've always made these predictions and they come true. Just like I said, Gavi is overrated. Come on, Spain. But what I want to talk about Danilo here, guys, is one or two things. One, Palmeiras are eventually willing to sell. That's a very, very good update for us now, because you don't want to chase players in January that are not for sale. You don't want to chase players that are not willing to move, and you also don't want to chase players who are actually overpriced just to prevent them from moving. So they're willing to listen to offers for around 20 million euros. So if Arsenal have that money, why not? We can get the deal done. So those are the two midfielders Arsenal will be focusing on in January, and those are the two wingers we'll be focusing on in January. The other names you have come across, and I've also come across as well, that we might be listening or hearing to in that winter transfer summer. I don't think winter transfer window. I don't think they're really strong, but we'll be listening to stories and rumors of them. Number one is Marcus Thuram. This one is actually gathering a lot of pace with reporters like Fabrizio Romano saying Arsenal much interested in the Borussia Mönchengladbach forward. He can play as a right winger, left winger, right midfielder, left midfielder, and also center forward and attacker as well. Very, very multifaceted, very gifted, and a very, very good player. So his contract runs down in the summer. Borussia Mönchengladbach have found themselves in that very difficult position almost every January transfer window, 2 January transfer windows consecutively. Last summer it was Dennis Zakaria, where Arsenal really tried to get him. Did we try? Okay, we wanted to get him and we actually didn't get him. Juventus did, but now it is Marcus Thuram. Now, I've not seen the guy play that much. I've seen him 1 or 2 times. I'm not really going to have an opinion yet, but when I do a video about him, trust me, it's going to be a super video. The other player is Memphis Depay. I've actually looked at him play in the World Cup a few minutes ago. I think Memphis Depay is one of those players that are going to be linked with the high-profile clubs forever in their careers until they retire. But we will sign him. I don't think Arsenal will be going in for that. Adagula is another player that Arsenal are interested in. 19-year-old playing with Fenerbahce. This is the second window that Arsenal linked with Adagula. In my opinion, they're trying, I think it's the agent trying to find a good market for the youngster. I don't think Arsenal will be in for that. Fares Chiabi. That is the name. Fares Chiabi. Toulouse, again, 19 years of age. Playing as a midfielder. Arsenal do need a midfielder. So if you see Arsenal, probably going in for Fares Chiabi, do not ask me, Cossy. This was not part of our guide. Okay, we want him, but it's just part of the mentions. Jesper Lindstrom is another player that we've talked about even before November. We talked about Jesper Lindstrom, another player that Arsenal will be trying to sign in January. And finally, Felipe Endrick, 15-year-old Brazilian playing at Palmeiras, Madrid, PSG. Everyone seems to want this guy, but Arsenal don't really look very interested in the young lad. So if we get him, it's a good buy because he's one for the future. People are dabbing him already, the new Messi, the new Neymar, the new this. So let's wait and see what's going to happen. And I just wish it's not one of the stories where we have to come back and recap and say, we were about to sign Endrick before he became a Ballon d'Or winner. My name is Cossy. More of these stories, more of these videos are going to be coming your way if you hit the like button, if you subscribe, and if you tell me where you're watching from, because literally I cannot talk to ghosts. I'll see you soon.